There are many songs sung in Hawaii, and they talk of the uplands, the forest, the sun, the sea, of Haumea, who is the keeper of the uplands, of Kanaloa, the keeper of the sea. But we have to know what the foundation of the world is. So we have spread our moina, our mat, which is the basis, the foundation of learning. And upon this mat, things will be revealed. We are going to talk about things Maori or Maoli, or the real things done by the real people of these islands. Well, in order to know what the people who were the first stewards of this land thought like, you have to do the things they did. You have to do it in the manner they did them. But when it gets down to the tools of the trades of the Hawaiian, this is really Neolithic industry. We're going to talk a little bit about those industries, and we're going to talk about why they did it, what was important. Here are some of the achievements achieved by the Hawaiians in shape and design. Every one of these shapes have certain kinds of usages. And many of these designs were developed hundreds of years ago. What we're going to do is show you some of the methods of how they made the fish hook. The Makau Kaʻai starts off as pieces of bone. The bone is selected and they rubbed on a stone. And the Hawaiians did not go down and buy files. They made them. Sandstone from Makena, white coral from NOʻEAU, coral sandstone from NOʻEAU. This is Puhaku Makali'ili A'a, and some we got from Kaupo, others we got from Makena, some we got from the Big Island. Now with this material, this is the sandstone, you merely learn a great deal of patience. You learn that time slowly wins over work. So preparing this thing was a long time. Then when you get the pieces, you then put a picture on it of the hook, back out. You develop this cartoon or picture or tracing, whatever you want to call it. Hawaiian call it ki'i, the picture. And then you, anybody know how they produce this picture? You don't go down to Crest store and buy a pencil. So what you have to do is get NOʻEAU, the coconut stem of the leaf, and you burn it in the soot of kukui nut and mix with the gum of trees, and you put the drawing on. It takes a little more time, especially if you don't, you have a hollow YY, you have to go by feet. And now, by using your file, you merely file off all the areas you don't want. It takes a lot of timing. Now, after he's achieved the outside silhouette by filing in that fashion, he needs to take out the center. As you can see, I've drilled. I'm going to introduce you to two of my friends here, see? The fisherman always has these two friends. They always dance for him when he doing his work. It's nothing like having somebody dance for you when you work, see? And one of them is called Kane Huli Huli, and the other one is called Lono Wili Wili. See? These two dancers have a very special way of dancing. Notice that the bit is a piece of shell. It's a sparrow shell. And with patience, it takes about 8 shells to make one hole. And so you can talk to your children or talk to your friends and you drill your shell. See how this dance? This magical dance? This is a people with no sort of metal. A people who who found their tools on the beach, found it in the mountain, found it lying on their moku, on their land. Eventually you take out the whole center, and when you have the whole center out, then you go over to a piece like this, and now you start to clean the inside. Okay? And then finally you polish the inside. All of this takes patience, and so you get an inkling of those people who came here and their methods of doing it. You're not going to appreciate the people and their philosophy if you don't appreciate their labors, their perseverance in the Neolithic industry. This double piece book is unique to Hawaii. It's done in the South Pacific, but usually wood and bone. Here is bone and bone. The Hawaiian try to make something that the fish was used to eating. If you look at that, you see that shape. What does it look like? Doesn't it look like a small neho or small fish? And with this hulu pu'a, you know, from the from the neck, the hair of the pig, this being pulled through the water vibrates. It's kind of transparent, and you can see it like a ripple in the water, like the tail of the fish. See, and you kahi, you pull this back and forth. So then we call this makau, meaning hook, iwi, bone, pa, makau pa some people call it, meaning the shell, pa, ka kahi, hapai aku. You know, put it back and forth, kahi, to lift up the aku. See? So it's the fish hook. Okay? This bundle here is a very important bundle. This bundle is made so Hawaiian men don't have to cry out loud. Okay? You know about crying out loud? Well, you know, sometimes when your mama and your papa driving down and they get the red light there, you hear them grumble, as they call that, crying out loud. Gee, crying out loud. So Hawaiians have that problem. When they're coming in on a canoe like here out in the sea, just as they come close, you'll get high surf. Now, if you have taken all this time, selecting the bone, drying the bone, kahi the bone, drilling and finally making it be reborn as a hook, well, it's a pretty special piece of labor. And so they make this bundle so that in case the canoe falls over, or rolls over, huli, kawa'a huli, this thing floats and you can find your fish hooks. So it prevents people from being very sad. And the Hawaiians used to say that fishermen, the Kalawaya, love this so much that they never took it off their body. They always wear it here on their waist. All their favorite hooks go. When they sleep, it goes by the head. Double piece hook, hulu style. Then we have the hulu nene, which is the spotted chicken, and the hulu mele, yellow, the hulu apapani, red. And when this is all wet, the skin becomes transparent and is pulled through the water, and it has a fish-like quality. The skin being transparent, you can see that red feather coming right through the skin, like a side of the fish. And of course, the hook is hid up inside of it and pulled along. And this is a trolling hook. Okay? And these hooks were made for hokolea, to go down the sea trail and fish. Now they make hooks out of other things besides bone. These are for deep water bottom fishing, makau pa, or pearl shell hooks. How's this one? Does it look like a little worm? Shiny, eh? If you was a fish, wouldn't you bite that? Kind of ono, eh? Look tasty, eh? Just like they put the whipped cream on top of the ice cream for make them more fancy. All of these are bottom fish hooks. Now, here's bone, that is shell. There's another kind of shell they call NOʻEAU. The NOʻEAU is honu is turtle. Ea is a kind of turtle. This kind of turtle is the hawksbill. Today very endangered. Too many people have killed too many. too many steaks in a restaurant. You know, so here's a symbol of beauty that is lost because of abuse. I don't know if you can see it from that side, but as the sun goes through it, it's a magnificent piece. And they get smaller and more delicate and glow. See, this is like camouflage, yeah? They put the bait on this and some of it is transparent, so you don't even see the hook. So these are the fish hooks for protein. Here are for the bottom fishes and shore fish. This is for the ulua trolling. And here we have the bringing home of aku and ahi. Now, we have a Neolithic industry where we needed shark tooth to produce knives to cut kaula. Nana make a kaula, a piece of cord, and then you just bring it over here and you cut it. So it's important to cut cordage, you had to have this Neolithic resource or this natural resource, which is a shark tooth. So in order to catch shark, we go through a very complicated thing. And you have one of these. And then, you know, again, there's some big thinkers. See? And, you know, you cannot find these in stores, but you got to make them. Clever, these Hawaiian. And you can read about it. You can look at this picture and see it. But making it will tell you how it was. So, some people watch TV. Some people make fish hooks. They're not different. They're not better. It's just, when you power TV, you gotta look up one more program. When I power, I get all these nice toys. When you work with an adze, and you're carving a carving, the adze, the koe, as you kalai, you carve this thing, you're shaping a new world out of the kumula'au, out of the wood, the trunk of the wood. And you make it into a ki'i, or a bela, or a paddle, whatever you're doing, but you shape it. But as you shape with the koe, you are being shaped. And as the blade takes away woods and shapes this new creation, or this rebirth of something that was hidden in the tree, your hand is also being shaped. They're called blisters and calluses. So when you do this, your spirit is being shaped. You're becoming aware of things that were, that can be. This is the koe. In Hawaiian, or Hawaii, they call it the koe. This is what the Maori shaped the world. With this, they would cut out the kumulu'au, the great trees. They would fall and Hanu reborn as a great canoe and adventure on the sea. For this to work, between the koe and the la'au, or the handle, you have to bind it. Except that a man make cordage, the la'au would not be pa'a to the koe, and the canoe could never be born. Except a man make cordage, the yako could be not tied to the va'a, and the canoe would huli, and we would never have come. Except that a man make cordage, the women would have to sleep under trees and in caves. And so in a land where there are no nuts and bolts, screws and nails, the world is tied together with cordage. And so the making of cordage was considered a very manly thing. And the man who did not make cord was considered of small value, of very small value. This cord is called aho, and it is made from the aha, which is the coconut husk of the new. And they put it up on their thigh and they roll it. But for canoes, to tie the canoe together, you need some kind of heavy cordage. And this is handmade kaula, canoe grade, to tie the yako on. It also makes up the cordage for pulling the sails, ukila. These are the ways of kaula. And kaula goes into different kinds of worlds. In other words, it's not only the physical world that is tied together, but it also tied together the spiritual world. This is another kind of hook and kaula. Okay, Nana? This is a nihoplao, very graceful in shape, highly cherished by many Hawaiians. They only give to the hiapo, the firstborn of the firstborn of the firstborn of the firstborn, for 20 generations. Doesn't make any difference if it is a male or a female, a kane or wahine, just that it is the firstborn. And that person becomes the keeper and the kahu of the family. Ivory was considered, opla'o, the most sacred material in all of the South Pacific, of all the Sea of Helani. It is the shape of a handle and a hook, but it also is the shape of the tongue. And this is the symbol of that which in the family commands. See, this is not a symbol of choice. This is a symbol of birth, a symbol of authority, of responsibility, of the heavy weight of giving the judgment when there is a conflict in the family. When we refer to our people, we say, we are from the Kamene and the Kena. The word Kena literally means to command, to have the right to speak. These items, they're not, they're found things. You find the lauhala on the tree, you find the fiber in the coconut, find the wood in the forest, and you find the ivory. Well, the ivory takes a little bit to find, but you make these things. You don't go out and buy these things. Hawaiians will have Hawaiian things if they don't shop in foreign stores, if they make their things. We don't go to the steel mill to buy cold rolled wire to make fish hooks. We save the bone from the pu'a, from the honu, and even from our ancestors. And then we shape this hook. And you say, well, why do it that way? I'm a modern man, I use machine. Because it gives me a discipline to think like the people who were the first stewards of this island. It'll make my muscles hurt just like their muscles hurt. And then I will be able to think in their terms, carefully, with smaller, less, and more respectfully.